Tape rolling. Oh, this is something I will talk about in this video of mine. This is something my cousin made. Of course, my cousin has been making these things for many years now. I've made my own of sorts too, and painted them and put them on a little frame of some type, like this young man, this cousin of mine, made for this. And pardon my messy room, but I like this one. It stands about 10 inches tall. It's about 12 inches in diameter. The poles themselves are about 18 to 20 inches long. And if you'll pardon the background there and the beautiful pictures of my family on the wall, and of course some jackass in uniform. Oh wait, that's me. Anyway, you will see the ideas that have stood the test of time. These things are not just native. You'll find some natives today are very closed-minded. Most, not all. They're secretive. They don't like to share things with the white world or with other people that are trying to hijack our... yeah, whatever. Sometimes you have to get with the times and understand that times are not like they used to be a few hundred years ago or so. And yes, Joey, every time I start talking to myself or answering whatever comes to me, you always pop up. I think I'm talking to you. Anyway, shh, get down. I love you too, little boy, but you gotta get down. Go eat. I gave you some food. Go shit in the box, okay? Anyway, so, but this is a little teepee that my cousin made. Of course, he's not here right now. We have the pole, this little contraption here, usually held during the daytime hours, held the flaps of the teepee open. You could also hang some of short-term things upon it, like your shield, and lean your lance against it, or maybe a visitor would come along and, oh, well, I'm here and things are somewhat reasonable and safe. Well, fucking put something there. Or tie your horse to it, or a favorite horse. And of course, the stake in the ground, or the pole, just a small little 6-foot type of pole, or spear. Anyway, like I said, didn't just hold items of everyday use, it also was an anchor for the teepee flaps. Typically, the natives would point their structure entrances to the east. Even the natives, a few hundred years ago, or thousands of years ago, of course I'll get into that here just briefly, or in a few seconds or so, or a minute or two. The natives pointed their structure to the east. They knew of the directions. They knew north, south, east, and west. The natives knew that this world that they were on, this round object in space that they were living upon at that time, was our home, and it was something living and still is something living, is still something very sacred. And I had to cover up my messy bed. I live on a king-size bed sometimes, and I had to jack it up so it's waist height to store my shit underneath, all my boxes and whatnot. So we have a modern day, I guess modern day history, or the white history from the dominant culture, I guess. Like I said, buzzwords and things that you hear and see on the internet and in textbooks and all that say that the natives lived in these teepees for the last few hundred years, and they got their teepees from buffalo that they would hunt. The Lakota people, my people, specifically, we did follow our food source north and south, a little bit east and west, but my native people, we knew the United States, the world that we lived in, from west coast to east coast. We also knew this world, or this land, from the far frozen north where the ice never melted, where it was very cold. And we also knew this world further south to where it was very warm all year round. And we also knew that of the land that was further south. And then further south it was once again ice and snow. In fact, the Lakota one time sent out some people, and it was a large, I guess at the time, a monumental undertaking of sorts, when a few hundred people specifically decided that because they knew of people to the south, they knew of the lands south, South America, south of Mexico region. A few thousand years ago, the Lakota, and of course some other peoples from the other tribal plains types at the time, a few hundred of them went south. And of course, journey on horseback and on foot took about 5 to 10 years total. They traveled south, and they journeyed and had experiences with other friendly natives and other whites and other people that were not red or were not brown like they were. And they reached a great civilization further south. And this civilization at one time, or at that time, and of course you can always backtrack a civilization, well, you know, I mean, any civilization or culture doesn't just, well, like these teepees for instance, hey, fucking let's make a cone-shaped structure. In fact, we don't know the word for a cone right now. What is this? A pentagon or dodecahedron or a many-sided circle or something, or let's fucking build a pyramid. Yeah, all right. You have to have known structure and ancient other ancient knowledge from somewhere. But anyway, the Lakota, when they traveled south and they visited a great civilization at one time that we all know of, the Mayas, the Incas, the Aztecs. The Lakota were quite surprised, in fact, that these people painted a lot of their structures. In fact, they used instruments. Today we would probably call it machinery. Of course, we're talking about ancient people, or other ancient peoples that used sound and other what we would call mystical things to inscribe and chisel and carve into the rock or into the pyramids or into the other sacred long-lasting buildings, temples and city walls and so on. The Lakota did their journey. Of course, I'll expound upon this later on. As I said, I'm going to be starting putting my own little videos out there, since every time Dick and Harry is posting shit, well, I get to do the same thing too. So, the Lakota, their little party or excursion or scientific expedition, whatever he called it, they did their time. They had their good times and bad times, but they turned around and headed back home. They went north. So, one of the words, and I don't have that with me right now, I guess an enlightened person would, a knowledgeable, smart person would be able to name things in detail, and I am not one of these people that you find on the internet. Of course, you already know that by now, but in my own way, I will disclose whatever the hell I disclose, like everybody else does, in a series of videos. So, but one of our Lakota words for south doesn't mean a direction. One of our words for south does not mean, a cardinal direction. It doesn't mean that way, or it means land of the faces. It means people of the faces, or something to that effect. And when you have something like that in the cultural knowledge bank somehow, it tells you that civilization way back when, not just a few hundred years ago, but we're talking thousands of years ago, that civilization was upon this earth, an advanced civilization, not just Lakota, and not just any of the other ascribed names that I had mentioned, but I'm sure other cultures existed as well. And we all know that by what we see and hear with our own eyes and ears from YouTube videos or anything else that we may have attended, or in the flesh, or otherwise, what knowledge we have all received somehow, if we cared to study these things. Or this shape that embodies the Lakota ways, the life style that we had long ago, and we still do, because there are some Lakota that, why, they fucking have a teepee or two in their yard like we do, and it means something to them. And there are the wannabes and hangers-on and other people that also ascribe to a native culture of sorts, and they too have, and I'm putting spit on my screen here as I'm trying to talk, but with my feeble words and alcoholism and what brain damage that I have done to myself, I try and pass on the message of something to you now. You can tell that my people descend from a great race of highly advanced people. My own dreams and visitations and whatnot, and I will cover those later. In fact, you can go to my Twitter timeline if it is still up, and if the powers that be or anyone else has not censored me or pigeonholed me into a corner or somewhere like they do with anyone, I guess, that doesn't speak and talk things that are normal. I've already covered a lot of these things about my own Lakota culture. I've also talked greatly about the Tipis and what they were, or what they descend from. And here, now in the year 2017, and last year, 2016, when my cousin visited here in Alaska, and of course he's still here, but he took my little teepee cutouts, because you do have to take the teepees that I'm pointing to now, you do have to take that cover and actually fucking lay it out from a bed sheet, or a piece of paper actually. And I had a lot of those pieces of paper. I draw on them sometimes. I draw on them, and I don't paint. I'm not, as an artist, I'm not a painter or a sculptor. Though as an artist, a student of, grade school, high school, college, and earlier in life, I tried everything as far as artistry. But I love any type of writing pencil and just a fucking ink pen, whatever you write with. I'll draw something with those two simple instruments. I draw, and I guess my specialty is just drawing. But I had lots of cutouts. And my cousin, and he told me a few times, when he was talking native or native subjects to me and whatnot. And my cousin is very knowledgeable about these things. He should be posting his own YouTube accounts. I do give credence to people like that and others that know what the fuck they're doing. They should be posting stuff like this. And not having some drunk or recovering alcoholic whatnot try to explain to you. So my cousin, he took one or two of my little cutouts that I had on paper, and on some of my bigger cutouts I had taped together, and he used them, and he made a template or two of his own, and then he'd take a bed sheet, and which is what this is actually made of, some type of a canvas, or my cousin would use a bed sheet, just a simple bed sheet, and he would whitewash it, take white paint, heavily dilute the white paint, and just actually get the bed sheet wet, or the canvas wet, and then dry it out and get it wet, dry it out, and then take a hanger, a clothes iron, and heat seal the residual paint inside the fibers, and stiffen it up a bit, and then he would lay out the template over that bed sheet or whatever, and he'd make 8 or 10 or a dozen of these little cutouts. And then fucking after my cousin would assemble these little poles of various diameters or various sizes, much smaller little sticks. These are little bamboo skewers that you would find at any store, or any crafts and hobbies store. I had a whole bunch of those, of course. My mother was so kind to supply my cousin with a lot of these items when my cousin stayed up here with us. And this is one of the big teepees that my cousin made. But these, they're not just little trinket items. These are quite obvious and blaring out to the world and staring you in the face right now, speaking volumes about our culture. Yes, we did have, in the last few hundred years, last few thousand years, we did make teepee structures that we lived in out of animal hide. They were painted upon using ochres or clay and whatnot. We also knew about various plants and stuff to extract the color from them. And they would be painted on, the teepees would be. The real live, real big, 18-foot across, or 20-foot across, even the bigger council teepees, 40, 50 feet, 30 feet tall. But anyway, or other teepee type structures that the plains people had long ago. And here my cousin made a whole bunch of these, and over the years that he was here, he sold them. And he gave a few to us as well, and or he gifted me one. I still have to assemble it. But this one is unpainted, and if you would look inside, you'll see a little dark shape in there. My cousin, he made a little cutout so that when the light inside gets turned on, that little light bulb that you kind of sort of see in there, when that light bulb is turned on, then fucking those little black figures, the light shines out in all directions, and what in a darkened room of sorts, you're looking at a teepee with what looks like Indians or natives sitting in there. And my cousin dressed up a few of those little black papered figurines with feathers on their head or whatnot. Of course, me with my sense of humor, or with whatever our drawings that I did on a regular flat sheet of paper that was kind of circular, and that looked like a teepee skin, like I said, in one dimension. It was just a flat sheet of paper. In my humor, I would draw things, and of course, what's that? Well, that's supposed to be a teepee with a shadow. Well, why are those shadows look like they're fighting? Well, we're fucking natives. You think domestic violence and alcoholism was only for the last 100 years or so? Hey, I'm just joking. But anyway, but that's my sense of humor. And later on in these videos and so on and so forth, I will be sharing my native art. And you will see for yourself just what the fuck I've been doing for the last, I don't know, I'm 50 years old, so for the last 48 years or so, ever since I could sit up and was marking on the walls of my mother's house or grandma's house or whatever, I was drawing. So, but these teepees are just, they look at you, they stare you into the face, and they shout at you that if you have eyes to see, and if your mind is open as well to new things that are outside of your culture, if you are not a native, well, fucking, here it is. We have a remnant or some semblance of ancient structure. Some of the more enlightened, smart people on the internet, with all of their books and videos and symposiums and meetings and whatnot, and classes and whatever, will tell you about all the shapes and that the natives have had these have had the same knowledge ever since we have been here. My peoples have been on this earth for the last 200,000 years, probably the last 250,000 years. Now, all you smart people out there and know more than I do about history and this world, well, fucking, I don't care if you're make fun of me or say I'm lying or don't know what I'm talking about. Hey, I'm the native here, not you. So, and even if you are a native and don't believe what the fuck I say, then you need to get into your own native culture, native way of life. And you too will receive answers for yourself as to where your culture came from, who your people are, and where your ancestors came from. See, we're looking at a couple of those little cutouts. That to me looks like a fat rabbit right there. And that one right there, his feather's hanging off to the left. And that one figure there don't have no feather. So, but just look on the internet. You'll see all these scientists discovering all these shapes and all these other what you call sacred geometry and so on and so forth. They say that there are energies and stuff that come from such shapes, and this little portion in the center of some little vortex, it goes up and then it spins one way when it goes down, and it spins the other way when it goes up. Well, that's fine. I believe you. You're much smarter than me. Sure, sounds good. But here's what Creator told me in my own life. These are just remnants of some things that we had long ago. These tipis, whether in a little small curio craftsman, look at this form, or whether it was like the 18-foot and the 21-foot diameter tipi that we have sitting in our yards right here and now. And one of them is painted, the other one isn't. That these were left over from the old world, left over from the old worlds, from the other civilizations, from the other peoples, from our ancestors, as we descended from, and mostly as what we've always been. You have other people on the internet saying, well, this is the origin of man, or natives, or blacks, or Chinese, or anyone else. They come from this star system, and they come from way over there. Well, fucking, that sounds fine to me. I believe you. But I'm a native. I can look up in the night sky on this global Earth. I don't have to rhyme and reason and explain people the existence of gravity or not. I don't have to know what it is, whether it is electromagnetism or whether it actually is a big ball of nickel in the center of our Earth and it spins too, and rotational forces and centrifugal forces just actually pull everything else down, and it's called gravity. And I'm not worried about all those arguments that are being made, pros or cons, about flat Earth or global Earth or what the fuck gravity is and so on and so forth. That's fine. Just pick your battles, and as the military does, just pick your battles and fight. Stand your ground and hold the line and believe something. Just fucking believe something. Whether you're native or not, whether you're some other culture, it doesn't fucking matter. Just find something, find where you descend from and believe in it. And this little smaller tipi as well is just, like I said, a smaller little version. It's a cute little table lamp with a light inside with a, and yes, this Westinghouse, Westinghouse, something labs. I always forget the names. I did a few jobs here and there that let me work in various factories and warehouses and whatnot in any major city I may have lived in, and so I got to put together tons of stuff and sanded this and sanded that and assembled this and assembled that. I fucking know what the IKEA people go through when they have to assemble things. I was probably one of those people that painted or sanded your freaking table or your metal shelf or your cabinets or their gym lockers or whatever that you find in every gymnasium and college and military barracks and stuff. I put those fucking things together and at one point and sanded them. And this large thing, it is also a holdout from the old world. No, just kidding. This is a little Copper Valley Association, a little curio, a little freebie or whatnot that was given out at one of the barbecues they had a few days ago or last week. And of course this has a little background. You can peel off the sticker on the back and adhese it to somewhere and fucking hide your key and somewhere on your dash of your truck, or stick a 20 in there for cigarettes or something, you know. Anyway, that's not part of the display here. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but anyway, there we go. These are remnants of the old world. These are knowledge. These are things that my people had, and in many respects we still do. Those of us that are being enlightened or allowing ourselves to be, honestly, without shutting out everybody else and saying, oh, well, this is a native thing, it's not something white people need to know about, so we're not going to tell anyone. Well, fucking here it is. And you have it from a full-blood Lakota here. This is from the old world. I will tell you of it. Yeah, right. Like that one guy on the opening scenes of that nice movie Dreamkeeper. That old man. I will tell you of it. Yeah, right. One of my aunties that lives now, that guy is her dad. So, but I never met him, that actor, and he played that old man throughout the movie. So, but I never met him in real life. But I know his daughter. She's my auntie. Of course, I haven't seen my auntie for over 20 years. But anyway, I will tell you of it. Yeah. But these are remnants of old ways. I say on my Twitter timeline that these were things that you could live in, structures for shelter, that these were also ships, that these were parts of other ancient structure. A capstone on a pyramid, perhaps, or something else. But on a more personal level, you did not have any one of these things unless you fucking knew how to assemble it, knew how to put copper wire on the tripods. There's 3 poles in the center, or in the middle of this, that you would assemble first and put together and then erect. Of course, nowadays everyone knows that with the most precious and valuable metals in the world today being one of them, well, the most precious one is copper. It's not fucking gold and silver, it's copper. And if you do things, fantastical, wonderful things with copper, you can make a little spinning device, a generator, and put that in assemble that with a few other items, and you have a little simple engine. But if you can do other things with copper. You can wrap it around something, and wrap it around another something, and if they are spaced proportionately evenly from one another, the base poles of a teepee, it creates a field. And what does the scientific world know about some of these fields that are created by various copper wrappings and so on and so forth? It is levitation. Fucking levitation. And of course, you look inside the teepee, and traditionally, for the last few hundred years, last few thousand years, there was a stone altar that was not exactly smack dab in the middle. It was either just a skosh forward or just a skosh back. Because when you wrap a real live big teepee to live in or to camp out in the summertime, you have to wrap the top tripod poles, then lift them up and space them out evenly. Of course, don't do your copper wrappings, of course. You don't want the damn thing to levitate and the military come along later on and fucking confiscate or whatever, but that's the dominant culture for you. But anyway, so you put wrappings and or your rope of whatever kind and on a big teepee, and then once you've done the set wrappings, just let it hang down in the middle, and fucking that's the middle of your teepee. And if you do it right, it's all spaced out with 3 tripod poles. The North Pole, the South Pole, and the Eastward tripod pole. And then from there you can fucking stack on the front poles that go from the ground, stack them up on top of each other, 1, 2, 3, across from each other, and from the this being the north, this is the east, faces the east, this faces the north. Then you can wrap the north side, put a teepee pole, kind of stack them up on top of each other, and of course the tripod poles on a big real live teepee actually makes a little resting spot where you can safely, securely lean everything. And then you do the same thing for the back poles. You kind of put them up in fashion. The Lakota had a word or name for every pole. It would be much similar to what you people would call, like, let's see. I was a Boy Scout when I was little. You know, bravery, honesty, patience, obedience, or you have other church words or something. Integrity, fortitude, or whatever. And so on. But each tripod pole and each of the support poles on a real live big teepee had a name and had words that went with it and meanings behind it. And in good spirit and in good faith, you always erected the teepees. And typically it was a woman's job. Of course, the men were out hunting or out fighting or scouting or whatever. And it was the woman's job to, in the last few hundred years, to assemble the teepee, a real live one, a big one, not this one. But they each had a name. And of course, knowledge from the old ways that also fits in today with what we know about the universe around us and our world. This round, global, moving through space, somehow attracted to and held by the sun or the star that we now orbit as we move around the spiral galaxy on one of the outer arms. These poles, and I will, like I said, I did put it out there on Twitter. You'll have to go read all my shit on Twitter, but we knew about the quasars or pulsars out there, the timekeepers of the universe, those little stars, very dense. They had their own immense gravitational fields. Some of those stars you do not get close to when they're ever. They spin at a high rate. They are stationary and constant, and Most of our atomic clocks are based on things like that. Those pulsars, quasars, whatever, they are the timekeepers of, well, they're the timekeepers. So fucking our old teepees, some of the poles also are a semblance of those things. When the Lakota teepee was erected and pointed due east or whatever, from the old world, the old ways. Not every top pole sticking out was uniform length. Some of them were various lengths, and of course, once you get into a little rhythm or system, fucking one pointed just a skosh up one way, and the other one next to it pointed the. That was just a way of us remembering and us knowing about those timekeepers way out there, the fixed points in the universe. So, fucking, I don't care what white people say or any other colored scientist says. I'm telling you, in my own broken way, and of course I do this on purpose. In some way I am smart, I just fucking chase away everyone by being the way I am, and if you don't like it, then that's not my problem. And there's also another reason why these poles held up the teepee flaps, and of course you could, on a real live teepee, move the teepee poles around and close the teepee flaps in upon themselves. And of course, later on you would, on the inside of a full-size teepee, you take a similar length of cloth, stitch it all together, or hide and make yourself a little liner. So there would be a wall about 6 feet tall, 8 feet tall, that you would wrap around on the inside, and that would also insulate and further keep the teepee warm in colder climates, colder times. But ask yourself about things like this. If the natives were so advanced and their teepee designs come from things of the old world, if the teepees, ghosts of what they used to be and so on, were able to levitate, were able to be flown and fly and move through space and time and whatnot, what the fuck drove them? Well, I kind of just told you about something that you would wrap around certain poles. Yeah, also a few other items, perhaps, that would also help certain rocks, certain minerals. That was the reason why the altar was in the middle. And of course, what else do you have inside a teepee? Well, you have people. And this is where most people always, an advanced culture, always looks down upon someone else. Another culture, a primitive culture, and says, well, these people lived in skins and they didn't write language down. Well, we didn't fucking have to, because we were one with our Creator, the Creator of all, who isn't pegged and categorized as Lutheran or Christian or J-Dub or Mormon or Hindu or... No, the Creator is someone out there. Is God, but has made all of us in their image, in her image. The Lakota also had their own visitation from God. You just have to read about the white buffalo calf woman. Hello! It was a female. So, and I put that shit out there on Twitter for people to read too. And it's on one of my Facebook writings as well, that I took from someone else and said, this is a story, and I cut and pasted it, and there you go. Of course, that experience, in my own way, I was shown and answered by Creator as to who God is for me. Because this world is so varied with all these different types of people, of races, creeds, and tongues, it didn't mean that things were any less or more different long ago. We all came from somewhere else, I do believe was a tagline of some other space movie when one character was trying to convince everyone else of their way of life. I think it was a Riddick movie or Chronicles of Riddick or something. When that one man, we all came from somewhere else. Yeah, little taglines like that, little sentences, little things throughout the years have always spoken to me. That's because in my own way, I have had some of those things be spoken to me when I was alive, when I was little. So there's just some small proof that, there's good things in this world that if everybody or anybody is open to at any particular time, you get to experience it yourself. You get to see for yourself. You get to be visited by advanced people. You get to see God. You get to see your relatives. You get to see the other side while you are in this temporary, while you are a human being, while you have the blinders on, and we all do. Because as the religionists say this, we all have our minds closed to exactly what the hell's going on. We're supposed to get through life in our own little sphere of existence and do the best that we can in whatever, and find our own way in this life. But on the other side, we're fucking just like our creator gods that made us. So right now I'm giving audience to other people in my life as to, well, reptilians and other people who are wolf or Canis Majoris or whatever, or Arcturians or Pleiadians, or well, that's fine to me. It sounds good. It says there are other people out in the universe, and it says that there are other cultures and civilizations. And it doesn't really matter to me who was here on this earth long ago and tweaked anybody's DNA and uplifted whatever group of people and so on and so forth. It really doesn't fucking matter. What matters right now is here and now. And what matters is what you do with your life that you are currently living, and whatever iteration you happen to be. So I'm glad my cousin put these little teepees together. There's just so much that you can learn from looking at this if you really think about it. And just like those things of old, long ago, that were put here as monuments, as planetary counterbalance and weights. They were also, sacred places. They also were, like I said, monuments and so on. You just go out there and read and study for yourself. Don't listen to fucking drunks like me and other people that think they know it all. Of course, I don't know it all, and nobody really does. The only one that would know it all is you, and you have to find that out for yourself. This little teepee here, the big one, would also represent God. Because other people out there on the internet have said, well, the square is an ancient symbol for God, and the circle is an ancient symbol for his son, or for us, or it represents Earth, or it represents some other whatever sphere we live on, or so on and so forth. And all of that ancient knowledge is embodied in the Tipis. And that's not just Lakota Tipis. There's Dakota and Nakota, and there's Cheyenne and Arapaho and all those other types of natives. And I really don't know much about any others, so I can't speak for all these others. But as a generalization, I'm talking about Lakota right now. And I'm only talking from my experiences. I do not speak for everyone. Like I said, this world is varied, and even the people are varied too. But we all come from one source. We all come from a creator that made us in their image. Eons and eons of time ago, eternities ago. And if you want to know who God is, and if you want to know what God is, just look in a perfect world and you'll see male and female creating families. Male and female raising their offspring. Well, fucking who gestates and carries and births the child? Well, it's the mother. And in a child's eyes, who is God? So that's a fucking answer for you. Of course, don't take my word for it. Take your word for it if this is something you wish to study or learn for yourself. For yourself. Tune into that advanced person that you are on the other side. Step on in. Step on into my Tipi. So this is Drunk Sam, and of course if you look for Drunk Sam on Twitter, on my page, that's one of my little monikers, that's one of my little personalities that I have. And of course I entertain friends and family, because I make fun of my alcoholic self, but I also point out the folly and truth that can be found in human behavior. So mostly, first I make fun of myself, then I make fun of you. So if you don't like being my friend, and if you don't want to be facing truth, then fucking don't be my friend. So, and I like the design of this blanket, because some of the paintings and designs that the natives used to make would be like an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing down. Yes, we knew of these concepts long ago. As above, so below. And what is happening right now on Earth? Hey, we fucking came from somewhere else. There's a bigger picture way up there or out there that we don't know of, because we are living mortal temporary lives in a mortal fleshly body that, well, was kind of dumbed down to only last less than a few hundred years, and then less than 100 years. No, the Lakota, these designs, these shapes, our ways of life will tell you that we knew advanced things long ago. So here you go. You can buy one of these from me. You can buy one of these from my cousin. And I'll even tell you how to make one for yourself. It's very easy. So, anyway, I've listened to a lot of videos out there, watched a lot of videos, I've saved a lot of videos. So if you've given me the honor and respect of listening to my monotone voice, I thank you. And I know I haven't said much. This knowledge is already out there, and I'm just somehow giving voice to the fact that these things are true. And all of these good things that I know of, and that many of you know of, relating to this world around us, is true as well. What language was that? And how would we know of what language that was? And what language that is? And what other types of beings and people also live on this planet? as represented by the roundness of this little base, as represented by the circle. Food for thought. And of course you don't want to be their food. And you don't want to be food in a mental and spiritual way either, to feed anything. The natives knew of these things, and the natives knew of such concepts of spirituality that, hey, we're kind of embracing nowadays in our modern day world, but fucking the cultures of old knew of all these things. So, anyway, like I said, I will be posting some more videos about whatever. And of course you already met my little Joseph, my little cat. He's sleeping on my messy bed right now. So, and my day has begun. I'm a veteran of sorts, combat veteran. I was there, in and out of uniform for my country and for my state and for my cell, whatever I was a part of. And all of that really doesn't fucking matter. Nothing matters except for the moment. What matters is now. You can study all you want and learn everything about your past and our Earth's history, but that really doesn't matter. In my opinion, what matters is now. What you do with your time. When you step in to mortality, and when you take of a body, I don't want a fat one. I want that one. I want to be that one. I want to be native. Yes, I want that one. I want that experience right there. He's gonna live for 100 years or so. He's gonna live in a time on Earth when later on, when he grows up, all things will come to light, and other people will be speaking enlightened things about what is happening on that place that the gods created for us. A place where we could experience hell and experience shit and experience things of growth. And then when mortality is done and when life is over, we step out and we go back to our gods and we go back to our home. Because right now you're someplace good. You already are everything you wanted to be. You are gods. You are with the Creator. Perfect world. Because you can't experience our shitty life that we have right now. We can't experience hardship and pain and disease and suffering and war and all that dysfunction. You can't do that in perfection, in heaven, as the religionists say. So you have to go somewhere else. You have to connect somewhere else. To some place in this universe that was specifically created for any certain batch of humans. Those are the answers. You just have to come up with a question and teach yourself and find yourself. Because I'm finding myself, and with inspiration and my native connection, dreams and visitations and whatnot, out-of-body experiences and whatever, automatic writing, and I've found my way, and I'm still finding my way. Find yours, then put something out on the internet so I can learn from you. Thank you for your time.